In this class, we want to talk about control families. Now, we have talked about control, so you know what controls are, that they are safeguards that we use to protect our environment. We've talked about the fact that NIST has developed these control families, and there are 20 of these. And that is what we want to talk about in this class. Now, when we talk about these control families, it starts all the way from access control. Now, when we talk about access control, what do we mean? We are saying that these are controls that regulate who and what kind of accesses or what kind of information or who can access what kind of information within our environment. And so, in our environment, we want to make sure we are protecting our information. What control or measures can we put in place to make sure or to ensure that only authorized users can access this kind of information? And these controls will include things like verifying who the people are, what kind of accesses they have, the remote access, limiting access to certain kind of information. The second control family is awareness and training. Now, what is awareness and training? As the name symbolizes, awareness and training focuses on ensuring that personnel are aware of security risks and are trained to be able to respond to this kind of risks appropriately. Now, when it comes to awareness and training, these are controls that provide users with the knowledge that they need, the skill set, the education that they need to be able to make sure that we are protecting our information and our information systems. The next one we have is audit and accountability. We want to be able to make sure that we are enabling, tracking, and monitoring what everyone does within our environment. And so when we talk about audit and accountability, we are saying that we are establishing controls for auditing our system, auditing the activities that are going on in our system, and ensuring that there is accountability for every user. So at the very moment you log into the environment, we can trace wherever that you are going within our environment. The next one is configuration management. Configuration management controls. These controls are related to managing and securing our system configuration. Now, whenever you hear configuration, always think about it as installation. So, what kind of patches or what kind of applications can we put in place, or what code do we have to put in place to be able to make sure that we are protecting our environment? Now, this configuration management controls helps us to be able to make sure or to ensure that proper installation and the management of our information system is being done, which helps to be able to minimize the security vulnerabilities. Contingency planning. Contingency planning talks about just plan B, meaning that we are preparing for emergency response and recovery, including having our backups, our recovery strategies, our disaster recoveries. How are we retrieving or how are we restoring our information if our system breaks down? Then now we go to identification and authentication. Now, identification and authentication talks about controls that verify the identity of a user and the devices that they use to access information or information system. So when we're talking about making sure that this person that is being granted access has been verified before we grant them the access, and that is identity and authentication. Then we go to incident response. Now, every organization needs to ensure that we are well prepared to respond to incidents. We are well prepared to detect every incident and to be able to respond and recover from every cybersecurity attack. And so when it comes to incident response, that is what we are referring to. We are talking about the fact that making sure that our information system is tracking every incident that is happening, trying to detect every incident that is happening, and making sure that the incidents are happening appropriately. Incidents that are happening, we are aware of it and we are able to follow past. Then now we go to the next one, that is maintenance. Now this covers not the normal maintenance we are talking about, but when we talk about maintenance in cybersecurity, we are talking about the proper handling of our system maintenance. Now, to make sure that things are done in a safely manner. So in this, we are putting in control that support the preservation and operation of our information in our information system. Then the next one we have is media protection. Now, media protection controls, these are controls that protect the storage media that is being used to store information. As simple as that. Or it addresses the protection of sensitive information to ensure that they are being saved securely. So, where are we putting this information? Those media that we are putting information on, are they safe? Are they secure? That is what we talk about when it comes to media protection. Then we have our physical and environmental protection. This control talks about the protection of our information system from any physical and environmental threats. So this control, you will say that is focused more on securing physical access to information and protecting them from environmental threats. Because in every organization, we are all prone to environmental threats. So we need to make sure that we are securing that. Then we have planning. What does planning do? It covers security planning and the development of our security plans. We don't wait for anything to happen. We want to make sure that we are always ahead. We are planning ahead. We are putting in control that will support the development and implementation of our security plans and making sure that our policies and our information systems, there are plans in place on how those can also be secure. Then we have program management. Now, when we talk about program, I'll come back to program management later on. But let me talk about personnel security. Now, when we talk about personnel security, this ensures that individuals that are given access are going through the necessary background checks. They are screened, they are trained appropriately to make sure that they are aware of security threats. And also, we need to make sure that there are controls in case that we are terminating their appointment or terminating their accesses or terminating their contracts. What are the procedures in taking them away from the system or out of the system so they don't still maintain access to the system? And that is why I have personnel. Then we can go into the PI processing and transparency. I'll go to that later on. But let's talk about risk assessment. Now, risk assessment talks about identifying and assessing risks related to information systems or our information. And so what are some of the risks involved in the environment? How do we mitigate it? What are the controls we need to put in place? And that's what risk assessment talks about. Then we have our system and access acquisition. Now, this refers to acquisition and deployment of our secure systems and services. Remember, in every environment, all the assets that are being bought, we need to make sure that we are protecting the process of getting those. So these controls are controls that support the acquisition and procurement of information and information systems. Then we have system and communication protection. System and communication protection protect the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of our information system. And so in other words, we say that the CIA protect the CIA triad of our information system. Then we have system and information integrity itself. So we have to tell you have integrity. Now, the system and information integrity, as the name integrity goes in CIA triad, when we talk about integrity, we are talking about the modification of information. So system and information integrity is talking about the fact that how do we detect or how do we correct flaws that are within our environment to ensure that the integrity of our information is secured. Then we have supply chain. Supply chain focuses on identifying and mitigating risks that is associated with the supply chain or our third-party vendors or people that or our suppliers. That is the process, the control that we need to be able to put in place. Now, I skip program management. Now, program management focuses on managing security and privacy at an organizational level. I took my time with that because you see, everything that we are doing, it can be a project on its own. And it can also be a program on its own. So many projects come together to form what we call program. And so when we talk about program management, we are saying that these are controls that we make sure we are putting in place to manage the security and privacy at an organizational level. So one of those controls is what we are doing right here. putting in these measures or these controls. It is also program management. It's part of the program management. Then we have PII processing and transparency. Now, this one and supply chain were recently added. The PII transparency and processing is very important because you see, we are talking about processing of PII information. Now, privacy has to be something that we need to take very, very serious. And so that addresses the privacy protection of personally identifiable information. That is what PII is. And so we are saying that for us to be able to protect the privacy, the personally identifiable information of our clients, of our users, we need to make sure that we have this control family that is focusing on what? PII, focusing on how if this information are processed, how transparent they are we getting the right authorization before releasing those information? All those information for all those controls falls under the PII, processing and transparency. And these are all the 20 control families. I'll catch you up in the next class.